All right. Hello, class. Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about the muscular system. We are taking it into 2 days. So today we'll be focused on day 1 of the muscular system. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen with you. You should be in our Google Classroom, November 9th weekly slideshows. And then you will be on this slide right here, our muscular system. We're going to go through 16 slides today. When you click here for your assignment, it is going to be same assignment you've been doing. Make sure you answer the do now. Take notes. Don't just answer the questions I ask. Take notes on the slides and then answer any questions I ask as well. Maybe you saw last week of my nervous system and skeletal system tests, like what type of questions I asked, what information you need to know. So hopefully you could be better prepared for this Friday's test. So when you open up the muscular system notes, your do now question is, what do you know about the system? So what do you know about the muscular system? So I'll give you guys some time to answer that. Okay, and after you answer it, go ahead and tell me how many muscles do you think we have in our body? Think. We have 206 bones, correct? So you have to have at least 206 muscles, right? Do you think that's all we have? Do you think we have more? The answer is we have more. We have over 650 muscles in our body. The reason why is for every bone, you have at least a muscle on top, a muscle on the bottom. So at least you have 2. Some bones, like our femur, the longest bone in your body, which is in your thigh, you have your quadricep muscles. That's 4 muscles just on the top of your thigh. And then behind it, your hamstrings, you have 3 muscles under there. So just holding your femur, you have 7 muscles. Okay, and that's just top and bottom. Now I've been talking about the muscles on the side. So we have over 650 muscles in our body. We are not going to be talking about all of them. I'm going to name probably about a dozen of them for you to have an idea of your basic muscles. In your face alone, you have 42 muscles. So if you guys look at this picture right here, all the red, that's obviously muscle. Where it turns into white, we're going to learn there are tendons. Tendons connect muscles to bones. So where it's red and then where it goes white, that's the tendon that's stretching it to hook it to that bone, right? So you see in the face alone, there's really not a lot of white areas. There's not a lot of tendons because a lot of your muscles in your face, they're attached under your skin. That's why you guys can make a whole bunch of different facial expressions because those muscles aren't like pulled tight to anything. All right, next slide. So there's 3 types of muscles. Now, remember this, because on a test, I might ask, how many types of muscles? Name them. Don't tell me like your bicep, your tricep. I want to know the 3 types of muscles. We today are going to be focusing a lot on the skeletal muscles. Those are the muscles on our bones that let us move. Then there's another group of muscles called your smooth muscles. Those are the organs in your body. Your stomach, your esophagus that squeezes your food down to your stomach, your small intestines, your spleen, your lungs, your bladder, which holds our urine. When you think about all these organs, you don't realize like those are muscles as well. They're smooth muscles. Without those muscles, they wouldn't be able to do its job. And then the last muscle is your cardio muscle, your cardiac muscle. That's your heart. We'll be talking about that next week, a whole unit on your heart. So 3 types of muscles, skeletal, smooth, and cardio. This just shows you microscopic views of the types of muscles, right? You have your cardiac, you have your smooth, you have your skeletal. So those who want to go more medical field, you'll have to actually know like the microscopic views of these muscles. All right, so what are skeletal muscles? They're voluntary. That means you control them, right? So you tell your brain, hey, move my hand, I want to type this up. You tell your brain, hey, move my foot, I want to kick that soccer ball. Right? They're voluntary. You control those muscles. They're skeletal, you control. All of our skeletal muscles, you think of those types of muscles, there's a lot of power and strength in these muscles. They literally attach from one end of one bone. They have to cross a joint to another bone. So say, for example, there's a muscle. So say my bicep. We'll say my bicep. A lot of people know your bicep, right? It obviously attaches over my shoulder. Okay, it comes all the way down my bicep and then it attaches to my lower bone, your ulna and your radius. Because if it didn't, then you wouldn't be able to bend your elbow. It has to cross a joint and attach because that's the muscle that pulls so you guys can actually have movement. If it didn't pull, then we'd be like robots. You wouldn't be able to move. This down here is called striated. A lot of your muscle fibers, it's called striated, where it looks striped. Those are muscle fibers. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. All right, Have you ever heard of the term move it or lose it? Well, I mean, that's pretty true. So this just breaks it down right here. So if you look up here, so here's a big muscle. Think of it as your bicep muscle. You have one big muscle. Each of those muscles have their own individual muscle fiber. So it's like one big bundle of muscle fibers. Then when you take out one muscle fiber, that's a bundle of, they're called myofibrils. And then when you take out one of those, it turns into sarcomeres. You're like, oh my gosh, right? So literally though, tiny pieces of your muscle, if you don't move and exercise those muscles by literally just contracting, relaxing, just doing something active, if you're not doing that, you could lose 100 sarcomeres a day. Now you might be like, okay, well that's one of this, of this, of this. But eventually those sarcomeres is what makes up that big muscle fiber. So you can be losing bits and pieces of muscle every day. So it's really important to make sure we're doing some type of activity, some type of exercise. All right. Okay, so we're going to focus a little bit on smooth muscles. Like I said, these are called involuntary. You don't have to tell it what to do. They do it on its own. So for example, this right here is your esophagus. We'll learn that's what squeezes your food down to your stomach. Your stomach digests your food. It squeezes it, does it on its own. Your kidneys right here are their own muscles. They help secrete and filter like blood and your urine and your waste. Think about your bladder. Like I said, I got to go to the bathroom. Your bladder is what holds all that urine in, and then you release it. Your eyes are involuntary muscles. I don't have to tell myself blink, blink, blink every single time. So you think about all these things your body does that you don't have to tell it to do. Those are smooth muscles, right? All right. And then I told you your cardiac muscle. We'll be talking about it next week. It's your heart. Whenever you see the word myo means muscle. And then cardium, cardiac, that means heart. So your myocardium is your heart muscle. This is also involuntary. You don't have to tell your heart what to do. Think if we had to constantly tell our body, like, okay, heart pump, lungs breathe, esophagus squeezes the food, small intestine gets the good stuff. Oh, heart, don't forget to beat, lungs keep breathing. That's all we would be doing all the time. But that's the part of your brainstem. When we talk about your brain, that's the part of your brainstem that literally controls all of these organs for you. All right, moving on. Okay, so we're going to be talking about major muscles of the human body. Okay, this is the anterior and posterior view. Anterior is when they're facing you. Posterior is when they are facing, you see the backside of them, right? So I'm going to be asking you tests. I'll probably have a picture of a certain muscle of the body. I might say, what name this muscle? What is that? And you'll have to tell me what it is. You're not going to need to know 650 of them, but a good dozen. So these right here on your chest, these are called your pectoral muscles, your pectorals, right? Pectorals, your pectorals. Believe it or not, you have two sets of pectoral muscles. You have your pectoralis major, which is the top, and then a pectoralis minor, which is underneath. So you have two sets of muscles. Girls, we have pecs too, right? We just got a lot of fatty tissue on top of our pecs. Your bicep, everyone knows your bicep is the upper arm, the front. This is your bicep muscle. You'll be needing to know that. Your abdominal muscles, when people think of your abs, your six-pack, your core, those are your abdominal muscles. On top of your thigh, on top of that femur, those are your quadriceps. Quad means four. So there's four huge muscles on top of that thigh. I think that might be the front, all the front. Oh, your shoulder muscles called your deltoid. So right here, deltoid, your shoulder. And your deltoid is technically like your front and back because it wraps around your whole shoulder. That's your deltoid muscle. Okay, now let's focus on the back side. Okay, like I told you, there's a whole bunch of muscles I'm not going to teach y'all, but those are the majority big muscle groups. So your backside, the shoulder's the deltoid. If you look at the back of your arm up there is called your triceps. So think, this is biceps, this is triceps. This is called biceps because there's two heads that connect. Triceps because there's three heads that connect. Okay, this top muscle right here, if you could see, I have a slide that says it a little bit better, but this like triangle top part, that's your trapezius muscle. I'll show you that in a second. I'll also show you this big back muscle. It's called your latissimus dorsi. Without those big muscles, it wouldn't hold your vertebrae up. We would just be flopped over all the time. Same thing with your core. If you guys constantly have lower back problems, you probably need to strengthen your core a little bit more. Your core and your back muscles is what holds that vertebrae nice and tight. Check yourselves right now. Are you slouching? Do you slouch a lot? You want to make sure you're nice, rounded up, get that vertebrae nice and strong. This right here, your bottom, is technically the biggest muscle in anyone's body. It's called your gluteus maximus. Now, similar to your pecs, you have two sets of pecs, right? The major and the minor. So you have a top and lower. Same thing with the gluteus. You have a gluteus maximus, which is the top part, and then the next layer is called your gluteus minimus. But that's technically the biggest muscle in anyone. Okay, now you might be like, yeah, someone might have a big booty, right? They just have probably an extra lot of fatty tissue on it, right? But technically, the muscles there are the biggest muscle of everyone's body. Look at the back of your thigh. I told you there's your hamstrings. You have 3 huge hamstring muscles that are the back of your thigh. And then down here, your calf muscles. Now, one of these calf muscles has a pretty cool name. It's called your gastrocnemius. I love saying that word, your gastrocnemius. That's your big muscle on the bottom of your leg. Your gastrocnemius. How do you spell it? Gastrocnemius. That's your gastrocnemius. The other muscle, calf muscle down there is your soleus. So if you ever see someone who has really defined legs, you can see 2. It's like a berry, and you can see 2 muscles down there. All right, let's move on. Okay, so here's, I told you, your biggest muscle is your bottom. Biggest muscle in your body is the bottom. This shows you, obviously, here's some hamstring muscles. Here's your quadricep muscle. This right here is called your IT band. Some of you guys might have hip injuries or injured your IT band. That's a huge tendon, okay, a huge tendon that connects from your hip all the way down towards your knee. So a lot of people have injuries to that band. Usually it's a lot of runners. A lot of people do a lot of movements with hips and lower legs. Told you, most important muscle and the hardest working muscle is your heart. We'll have a whole section on that, but your heart's a huge, huge, huge important muscle. Okay, here's the most powerful muscles in your body. So your latissimus dorsi. So if you look at the bottom part of your back, this is called your latissimus dorsi, spelled right here. Easy way to remember your dorsi. I think a dolphin has a dorsal fin on their back, right? Dorsi, dorsal. Think of it as your back. So that's a huge part. Like I told you guys, if you're not sitting up straight, if you feel like you're hunched over, you have a lot of back pain, you probably need to strengthen your core and your back. This right here, see the upper triangle, this upside down triangle on the top? That's your trapezius muscle. That's another huge muscle that holds up, obviously, your cervical vertebrae. Keep your neck nice and strong. Okay, like I said, it keeps you upright, you stand tall. It also helps to do that push and pull movement. Think of like a basic game of tug and war. I know I've been loading trees all weekend, and we're pulling them off and on the trailer, so it's using a lot of our back muscles. All right, you guys don't have to know about these. I just want to show you. These are like the most amazing muscles in our body. This is just the muscles in your neck to be able to let you do all of this crazy rotation, right? Okay, crazy muscles. Those who want to go in the medical field, you'll need to know all these. One of my favorite ones is this one right here. I don't know if you can see it. It's called your sternocleidomastoid. If you feel like there's a huge muscle that wraps all the way down and it hooks to your clavicle bone. It's called your sternocleidomastoid because it hooks to your mastoid, which is your jaw, lower jaw, right? Then it goes down to your clavicle, and then it hooks to your sternum, which is your breastbone. So it's a huge muscle, and that huge muscle is what lets us move around our head. But those are all the muscles that enabled us to do that. All right. So how do muscles work? They work by contracting and relaxing. So basic muscle, or anything about it, is your biceps and your triceps, right? So you got to think, you can't move your elbow joint unless you have both sets of muscles, right? So if I don't have a bicep, I'm not able to flex. If I don't have a tricep, I'm not able to relax, okay? So they have to work against each other. Think of it like if you ever read a book, like a drama book, or think, they always have the synergist, like a good guy, and then an antagonist, a bad guy. But you have to have one to make the story work, right? So it's the same thing here. They have to work in pairs. When one wants to pull up, the other one relaxes. Okay, so if you feel your bicep when you pull up, it gets strong, and this one relaxes. But then when you want to pull down, this one gets tight, and this one relaxes. You have to have both sets of muscles to be able to move that joint. All right, moving on. Okay, so like I said, in order for a muscle to work, it has to cross the joint. So if you look right here at the bicep muscle, if this bicep muscle just hooked to your upper arm, then your elbow's not moving, right? It has to cross and connect to the lower arm, because that's what makes you be able to have that movement. Same thing here. If you look here, the quadricep muscle technically sits on your femur, but it goes all the way across your patella, your kneecap, and it hooks to your lower tibia bone, your lower leg bone. If it didn't hook here, then you wouldn't be able to move your knee. Same thing with your hamstrings in the back. It hooks in the back of your leg, but then it goes all the way down and it hooks to the bottom leg bone. Because if it didn't do that, you would not be able to move your knee. All right? Tendons. Now, remember I told you what attaches bone to bone? The piece of tape that connects bone to bone are ligaments. Well, what connects muscle to bone are tendons, okay? Muscle to bone. Like I said, all this like whitish area, those are tendons. So here's the big quadricep muscle on your femur. Okay, I told you it has to cross over the patella and then hook on your lower leg. That's a tendon. Now, if someone damages a tendon, same thing like a ligament. If it's like a partial tear, they might be okay unless like that's their job related to they need that type of fitness. So the doctor might go in and repair it. They fully tear it, you're not moving that leg anymore. So you're going to need to get it surgically repaired. So tendons are cords of tough tissue. Like if you guys make your wrist really like tough and you see these like cords, those aren't arteries, those aren't veins, those are your tendons. Those are the tendons that connect your arm muscle down to your hand to let you move your wrist, right? This one down here is your Achilles tendon. So that one hooks on the back of your calf muscle and it goes all the way down underneath to your heel bone. And that's what lets you flex your ankle. If you guys ever watch scary movies like Saw movies and you ever see someone go and they like cut their ankles and they can't walk, they're crawling to safety. Well, it's because their Achilles tendon is cut. So that means their feet, they aren't able to bend anymore, right? I'll talk about Achilles tendon issue tomorrow when we talk about our injuries to muscles. But those are tendons. So like this foot, same thing like on my hands, when you guys make your hands all tough, these aren't bones here. These are tendons. These are the tendons that allow my muscles to move my fingers back and forth. So if you damage a tendon completely, you're going to have it repaired or you're not able to move that joint anymore. All right. So in your notes, tell me quickly, explain the difference between a tendon and a ligament. So we just went over tendons. They connect what? Muscle to bone. They connect muscle to bone. And what did we say ligaments did last week? They connect bone to bone. Okay, if they're both partially torn, the doctor might suggest you might have surgery, but you might be okay if they're fully torn. You need to have surgery. Okay, because if your ligament's fully torn, your bones aren't hooked together. If a tendon's torn, your bones aren't moving because the muscle is not hooked to your bone, right? All right, let me go ahead and stop sharing this, get you guys back where I can see you. So today, like I said, we just talked about the basics of the muscular system. There's over 650 muscles in your body. 42 of them are in your face alone. They are connected by tendons. We went over the major muscle groups. Remember your deltoids, your shoulders, your pectorals is your chest muscles, your abdominals, the top of your thighs, your quadriceps. Okay, when you think about the back upper is your trapezius, the back lower is your latissimus dorsi. The biggest muscles are gluteus maximus. Behind your thigh is your hamstrings. Below that, your calf muscles. One of my favorite ones is the gastrocnemius, right? So tomorrow we're going to be talking about like muscle injuries and how to take care of our muscles and why it's important to stretch and warm them up before you do some activity. We want to make sure you guys don't lose those sarcomeres every day. So get some exercise activity in 20, 30 minutes a day. After you guys watch this lesson, go and do something active. Get on your app and pick up a little app and do a fitness workout, 5-minute fitness workout every day. Go help mom and dad do some yard work, right? Go mow, go do something, go help clean the house, something to give you some activity, some exercise. So I hope you guys learned today. And tomorrow we'll be ready. We'll be talking about some muscle injuries. All right. See y'all later.